already know this is Pawn Strong Boxing, aka Mr. Moonshine himself. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you at in this side of heaven. God bless you all. Y'all already know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been celebrating for 2 days already. I started the celebration on Wednesday, followed by yesterday. Great live show yesterday. Shout out to everybody on the panel. Shout out to everybody in the comment box. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. What a night it was. 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 Put this down a little bit. Oh, man. Teofimo Lopez. Vasyl Lomachenko. Teofimo Lopez, Vasyl Lomachenko. Ladies and gentlemen, I am hyped. Y'all already know my pick. Teofimo Lopez. Oh, man. The face-off was just like I thought it should be. And we're going to have this face-off a little bit because a lot of people were talking, oh, my God, Vasyl Lomachenko just fell to this dude like that. But then yesterday, or what was it? What was it, Wednesday or whatever? They had the final press conference. People was like, oh, my God, man. Lomachenko, he was calm. He was collective and things of that nature. You know. And Lopez was a little, little uppity. But this time we saw Vasyl Lomachenko react in a way we never reacted. Is Teofimo Lopez got, did Teofimo Lopez or Senior got on Lomachenko that made him react like that got him on some emotional stuff? I don't know. Or we see that Vasyl Lomachenko is hyped to become morally undisputed. Morally undisputed. We can say it like that, right? What's good, King of the Sticks? What's good? My boy, Cano Loco Sports. King, what's good? Let me crack this thing up. Oh, man, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I love the sport of boxing right now. Like I said before, man, we haven't seen this type of momentum in the sport of boxing. Not in my lifetime, I don't think. Or maybe I wasn't just, or maybe that was just a spurt of my life when I'm not paying attention too much about boxing. I was paying too much attention to baseball. Or I was paying too much attention to NBA or football or whatever. But I'm saying like this, man. Every weekend we have a fight that is interesting. Spend our Saturday night watching boxing. It's been so good. Not even the coronavirus. Because coronavirus could keep you from going now, COVID-19 pandemic and things of that nature. But I'm going to tell you like this, man. Boxing has kept me home on the weekend. Boxing has kept me home every weekend. And if you're a man out there, you be playing your girl, your significant other, playing your wife, when you go out, your wife, you better thank boxing. Your wife think he's getting credit. Yeah, I keep my man at home. Yeah, right. Boxing is keeping your man at home. That's how boxing is doing. Yo, boxing is so good right now. It's keeping your man at home. It's not you, baby. It's not the thing that's gone there. It's not you. It's boxing. Let me get a little bit of zippity zip. Y'all already know, man. Soon we're going to be having Douglas Fischer. You already know. The historian, the commentator. Editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine. Been doing this thing for more than a decade, for 2 decades, running, doing this thing, printing himself into this boxing community, doing a great job covering the damn sport for quite some times, man. Shout out to Douglas Fischer. Shout out to Douglas. I gotta ask him about, man, dude, man, young, man. It's like, man, he just came out the womb. Douglas Fischer, I don't even know how old is this dude. It's like he came out the womb yesterday. Major Key Boxing in the building. Prince TV was good. Man, oh man. Again, shout out to everybody that was live yesterday in the panel. It was a good live, y'all. It was a good live. I know y'all have fun. And maybe we could do a little later on like that too. But yo, when I saw the face off, man, I was hyped. Ladies and gentlemen. I was hyped. Vasyl Lomachenko gonna go. I said, hey, social distancing, my friend. Social distancing. What happened here? You crazy? Eh? What happened? Vasyl Lomachenko said, man, damn that. I don't care. I don't care social distancing. I don't care. I don't care. I test negative. He tests negative. I don't care. I want to see his eyes. I want to see his eyes. Rumor has it, boom, boom. Rumor has it that a couple of days ago when they had that sit down, rumor said that production team asked Lomachenko if he wanted to face off, and he said no. And maybe that got around. You already know Teofimo Lopez Sr. walking around the hotel room in the same floor, 12 in the 12th floor, screaming, you scared. You scared. You scared of my son. My son is going to F. My son is going, you know, all that derogatory stuff that you talking about that Teofimo Lopez Sr. does. Ride up the cage, huh? You scared. You scared of my son. We going to beat your ass. You scared. Oh, fight card tonight, midnight on Telemundo. Yeah, it's the next card. It's a nice card, too. It's a nice card. It's a night of boxing. It's a night of boxing. Puerto Rico sensation. Zaya, let's see what he going to be doing. But, of course, I'm paying attention to this right now. Probably get my other laptop so I could watch that fight as well. Man, I don't know, but a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people was choosing Lomachenko to win. A lot of people was choosing Lomachenko to win. And then all of a sudden, either because they feel like they could get more money, because of the betting odds, they could get more money. He said, Teofimo Lopez scared. No, AB, ain't nobody scared. Ain't nobody scared, man. They prepared. They are prepared. They are prepared. Teofimo didn't look scared of me. Nah, he was ice cold, man. He had ice in his veins. He had ice in his veins. He was tapping the security guard, man. Put your arm down, man. I want to feel this dude chest to chest. Pause. I want to feel this dude chest to chest. I'm looking in your eye, my brother. I've been eyeing you for quite some time, boy. I've been eyeing you. I've been wanting to fight you. What you think? You just going to make me flinch? I'm right here. I'm Teofimo Lopez. I've been calling your ass out for 3 damn years. You think I'm going to flinch? I want you in my face. I wanted this face off for quite some time. And now I'm here. My time is here. The takeover is here. I'm the captain of the new generation. I am the commander-in-chief of this generation. I'm going to become the undisputed WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF ring. Give me all the gold, baby. No Cuban zirconia right here. You are pound for pound, number 1, 2, 3. You can flip it around. I'm taking this. I'm going to be king of lightweight. I'm going to be this for supremacy, baby. It is written. It is written. My name is Teofimo Lopez from Honduras, New York City, Brooklyn. Let's go. Baby, I am hype. You hype. The boxing world is hype. Woo! Man. Jesus. Probably catch a heart attack before the fight happens. Man, I am hype. I am hype. Lord, calm your boy down until the fight happens. Shout out to Edgar Berlanga. Going to be in the undercard. Going to be in the undercard. See what we have right here. See what we have right here. Let's see what we got right here. It's you, Doug Fischer.
Hello.
What's good, Doug Fischer? The editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine. The communist. Not the communist. The communist.
Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. Nah.
I can't see myself. Hold on. Let me see. I gave my laptop permission to use the camera and the microphone. The microphone is working.
The microphone is working. All right. Yeah. Try to time back in then. Man, he's gonna time back in, man. Doug Fischer, man, been doing this thing in the boxing circuit for quite some times. Great historian, great boxing mind. And of course, man, I want to pick his brain and what he sees in the sport landscape right now. It's beautiful. The sport right now has a great momentum. Every weekend there's a fight. Y'all already know, man. Tomorrow, beautiful fight. Follow up on the 24th with Sergey Lipinets going to be fighting for the IBF interim welterweight championship. The winner might face the winner of Earl Spence and Dennis Swift Garcia. We're going to be talking about that a little later on too. Man, oh man. Boxing. Damn it, I love boxing. Like I said earlier, shout out everybody, smash the like button, smash the like button, smash the like button. Let me see if I could. So, Edgar Berlanga doesn't know the second round as a pro. He's a beast. Yes, official. He's a beast. He's a beast. There he is. There he is. Yes, I see you. I hear you. Right. Good. Like the Verizon guy.
That's right.
Yo, man, you don't get old, man. Look like you just came out the womb. When you was born? 2 weeks ago?
I just took a nap.
Nah, man. You gotta tell me your regimen or something. I got bags. You gotta let us know the secret.
I got bags. I have glasses on. So.
I know you've been a busy man. It's been a busy week, right?
Yeah,
busy.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I mean, for me, pandemic aside, it's been a busy year. It's flown by. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to working from home. I got all my stuff here in my home, so I don't clock into an office. I always work out of my house. The only difference the pandemic brought was my wife and kids are with me all day, and we get each other. And the boxing being moved off the schedule, it kind of forced us to be innovative, and we went straight to doing special issues because we were planning a special issue anyways with the Four Kings, and we wanted to have the Four Kings ready for the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend, and we were just going to bring like 1,000 books with us, and I was going to be there because it was Bernard Hopkins was going in, Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez. It was going to be a lot of people there, a lot of boxing fans. And I've been
Vargas, right? Also, right?
No, Vargas. No, he's on the ballot. He hasn't been voted yet.
Okay.
He'll get in eventually. And then when he gets in, there's certain fighters, when they get in, they're going to bring their fan base there. So all of those guys were going to bring their fans there, and we wanted to have a special magazine there, and the folks who go to the Hall of Fame induction weekend, they're nostalgic. They're longtime fight fans. Even if they're young fight fans, they got a lot of love for the recent greats like Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns and Roberto Duran, of course, my hero, Sugar Ray Leonard. So we were planning the Four Kings, and so we had that ready to go, or we were working on it right when the pandemic, forced like quarantine here in the States and basically moved boxing off the schedule. And while boxing was off, we kind of kept with it. It was a big hit. So we kept with it with the Gotti Ward trilogy. We did a special on that. We did a special on Mike Tyson. Always.
The comeback. The comeback.
Yeah, Tyson's got his fans no matter what. Whether he was making a comeback or not, Tyson's always in the news. And whenever he does something, people get really, his fans. And he's one of those last true household names among living boxers in America and abroad. It's really Mike Tyson and Manny Pacquiao.
About Mayweather too, right?
Yeah, Mayweather probably the last active American fighter, I would say. That's a household name.
Yeah,
It took him a while, but I mean, by the time there was the Mayweather Pacquiao rivalry, it's like even if you weren't a boxing fan, you knew who those two were. That's why that fight was so huge. By the time they fought, like they were known by just sports fans or just entertainment fans.
Yeah, Mike Tyson still got that aura. It doesn't matter. It's like he's immortal. We still think he can knock everybody out.
It used to be about his ring prowess, and it was always more than his ring prowess. It was also he has a personality that's unique because he's actually he presented that danger in the ring, but then he could be a thoughtful interview outside of the ring, but he could be dangerous outside of the ring. He had that sort of street past where he was unpredictable, and he could be emotional, and he would go off occasionally on members of the media. Not at first, but eventually, after Customato passed away and after he kind of split from his old boxing roots or whatever, he was a controversial celebrity sports figure outside of the ring, but still undisputed heavyweight champ inside the ring. So he was a curiosity. But even now, because he's mellowed out with age and time, when he wants to talk to somebody or he talks about boxing, he's fascinating because he's a student of the game and he loves history. And it's not just boxing history. He's like into world history and mythology and stuff. And he'll bring that in. That'll come out and some of his answers to like questions. And you're reminded, like, nobody would answer a question like that.
Yeah.
Nobody would quote like the name of Achilles or Zeus or something like that.
Yeah.
While talking about their own boxing career,
Exactly. It's like he's humbling in his own right. And he could be boisterous at the same time, but humbling in his own right. And we don't see a lot of boxers like that. Nowadays, we see interviews with boxers. You ask them, do you see what you think about your opponent? They be like, I don't watch film. I don't watch film. Like where that came from.
Really? I know. You're just kind of like, not at all, nothing. No, okay.
They don't know who's in their ranking top.
You always have talented fighters like that who are a bit aloof outside of the ring and in turn, in regard to their own sport. I remember Pernell Whitaker. He would say that. He's like, I'm not really a boxing fan. I'm a sports fan. I like basketball or whatever, football maybe. Talk to me about something else. But even though he was an absolute genius in the ring and willing to fight anybody and wanted to fight everybody, and it wasn't even he didn't make a big deal out of it. He was just like, oh, I can beat that guy. Oh, Julio Cesar Chavez. Really? What is he? What's his record? 85-0? Oh, okay. I want to him, and it's like he didn't pay attention to any of the business and business barriers or politics that would keep them apart. You couldn't tell him, well, champ, whatever, Chavez's side wants more money, but you're the defending welterweight champion. I don't care. That's fine. You can have a little bit more. Well, champ, he fights on Showtime and you're on HBO. He got a Showtime contract with Don King and you're with Main Events and you're aligned with HBO and the fight can't happen. Like, I'll go over to Showtime. Well, that's crazy because, it's going to be a Don King production. And the WBC is a Mexico City-based sanctioning organization. They're gonna choose the right officials to where I don't care if they rob me. None of that stuff that would keep it from happening. It's like So he was special in that regard. But as far as a personality, though, I wouldn't say he was bland because he was kind of salty. But a Mike Tyson type of like personality. And he had a special charisma. Yeah. So it was like I would, as a hardcore fan, I wouldn't mind doing like a special issue just on somebody like Pernell Whitaker. There's no way to sell the way the Mike Tyson special issue is selling. True. Some guys have that. They just resonate. They capture the if you will, of their era. So
and it's tough now. It's tough now.
Yeah. Tyson's like Ali was in the 70s, 60s and 70s, but it was the 70s, when I was a kid, when I was a boy, when he was just like, he was a super celebrity though. I mean, you know what I mean? He was like, everybody loved Ali. It wasn't that way in the 60s. Rocky Marciano in the 50s or Jack Dempsey in the Roaring 20s. It's like he epitomized that era. And
who you think would epitomize this? Who do you think would epitomize this era?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for them. It's hard for somebody to be, the last, like you just mentioned it, the last fighter who kind of defined his era. is either Mayweather or Pacquiao, or you could say the previous decade was the Mayweather-Pacquiao decade, because that rivalry, you know, leading up to 2015, that defined the decade.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, and if you go back and you look at Ring magazines from like 2007 to 2015, it seems like every other issue either had Mayweather on the cover or Pacquiao on the cover. It's a good way to kind of look at it. If you look at this year, Ring magazine, Tyson Fury has been on the cover 3 times. He was on the cover
just
after he beat Deontay Wilder. And he was on a cover. We did like a mythical matchup cover with Tyson Fury and Mike Tyson with a Richard Sloan painting. And then recently we did a cover with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, because we're saying, what's the biggest fight that can happen in boxing?
Exactly.
It's that showdown for the undisputed heavyweight champion. So let's say if he does that, if Tyson Fury, I don't know what's going to happen with the third fight with Deontay Wilder. Fury's saying the time's up. Time limit's up on fight number 3. He's going to fight whoever in December, and then he wants to move on to Anthony Joshua. Okay, that's what Tyson Fury says, and that's what his side said. We haven't really heard from the PBC. We haven't heard from Shelley Finkel or Deontay Wilder himself or whatever on whether or not that's true. But let's say it's not true, and Fury and Wilder do have to fight a third time before Fury can move on. If Fury were to beat Wilder a third time, and he'd probably be favored going into the third bout, you know, seeing what happened in February, right? And then if he were to fight Anthony Joshua and beat Anthony Joshua, and they probably have an automatic rematch clause where they'd have to do it again. Let's say he beats Joshua again. If he runs that gamut, and, you know, going into 2022, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and he's got the scalps of both Joshua twice and Wilder twice on his resume. Maybe it's the Tyson Fury era. I don't know.
I've gotten tired. I've gotten tired of the Wilder and the Fury, man. That's too much politics. I'm running away from politics. You walk into boxing, and we're heading back to politics. I know. Why just can't be simple?
It pushes fans away.
Yeah, it does. But also, what I feel about this momentum right now, that I feel like boxing, in my lifetime, I haven't felt this type of momentum in which every weekend is an interesting bout. Yeah, every weekend. You know, we have. Have you experienced this like every week?
No, there's been good years. We've had some good years. I mean, I remember, 20 years ago, I'm gonna sound like an old man. 20 years ago, I'm still very new on press row, but I'm on press row. I'm there, with the big timers and all, which were the newspaper columnists, the newspaper boxing beat writers. Well, some cities had boxing beat writers, others just had general sports guys that they would put on just the big fights, right? Yeah. But what I defined as press row were the sports writers who focused mainly on boxing because they wrote for newspapers, that were based in old boxing towns, old fight towns. So like Philadelphia, and it was Bernard Fernandez out of Philadelphia. I think he was a Philadelphia Daily News, or maybe the Inquirer, or maybe both of those papers at one time. And there was Michael Katz out of New York City. He was with he was at first with the Times, but then he was with the New York Daily News. And there was Wally Matthews, who was with New York Newsday, and then at the Post at one time. And they were the guys from like Reno, Las Vegas, Atlantic City. There's always a New Jersey paper. The East Coast would send writers out to most of the fights. That was press row with these boxing writers, that had been writing about boxing for more than 10, 15 years. And the year 2000 was the first year where from start to finish, I was sitting among them. I wasn't auxiliary media. I was media on the floor, laptop next to one of these guys. And that year, I think it started off with a bang because it was the showdown between Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. And it was nonstop the whole year. It was like that was in February. And then in March, Tito came to Las Vegas and lifted the WBA 154-pound title from Olympic gold medalist David Reed. Okay, that was outdoors at Caesar's Palace. And then like from every – and, that wasn't a great fight. That was kind of a beatdown, but it was like Tito showing like I'm not just a welterweight. I'm like pound for pound an offensive threat like you've never seen. Like I'll ruin guys. If I don't knock them out, they go 12 rounds with me, they're never going to be the same. Yeah. And at that time, his popularity, at least on the East Coast and with the Puerto Rican fans, was like unprecedented. It was incredible. Incredible.
We need to get the Puerto Rican fans back into boxing.
We had Fernando Vargas. The West Coast had Fernando Vargas, who reminds me a lot of Teofimo Lopez, or I should say Teofimo Lopez reminds me a lot of Fernando Vargas in that he's precocious, very talented, very skilled, athletic, but fearless. Like, he's like, I want the top dog. Now I'm not going to wait. Right. Exactly. I'm not, don't tell me I'm not ready. Yeah. And, they both won IBF titles in their 15th pro fight. With Vargas, it was Yuri Boy Campos. Mm-hmm. And then he quickly moved on to, former champions and the big names. So in 2000, I think Vargas, he fought Ike Corte, and then he had like a mandatory fight against a guy named Ross Thompson, and then he finished the year against Felix Trinidad. That was in December. Was that December 2000? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Winky Wright. Well, he beat Winky Wright.
He beat Winky Wright in 99. Yeah, 99. He fought Vasyl Lomachenko, I think, and Winky Wright, and he had a hard time in that fight. They overlooked him. That was a big mistake. And I remember that because I was with maxboxing.com, and my partner in maxboxing.com, a guy named Gary Randall, who was like the webmaster. Okay. He was so it was four of us, and it was myself, Steve Kim, Gary Randall, and Thomas Trebasi. So it was like three writers and a webmaster. And it was like a small business. It was an LLC. So Gary was close to Fernando Vargas. So we would drive up like at least once a month. We would drive up to Big Bear and stay at his place and watch him train and kind of hang out with them. I remember going into that Winky Wright fight. He was training hard, but he was distracted. He had drama outside. He had family drama, and he was still
family drama. Damn it!
He had family drama. I'm
thinking about today. We got family drama.
Yeah. So he had a lot of that, but he got real big between fights. He got really big. Yeah. So he was. I mean, I was watching him spar, and he was sparring with like light heavyweights because he was a light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. And he was looking good, but I was like, you got to make 154 pounds. So, but not to take away from Winky Wright. Winky Wright might have won that fight.
Yeah, it could have gone either way.
But I remember telling them like, Winky's for real. And they're like, we watched this. We got a tape of this fight with Harry Simon. Who the hell is Harry Simon? Harry Simon outworked him. And I'm like, Harry Simon is a badass. You'll probably never have to fight him. Because that's the way it was back then. If you were like a real badass fighter from another country, you often didn't come to the U.S. So that's kind of how it was with this guy Harry Simon, who was from Namibia, and maybe he fought out of South Africa or whatever. But he never. Maybe he did eventually fight in the U.S., but not while he was in his prime. And I had seen that fight, and I was like, okay. Simon's throwing like 100 punches per round. Are you ready to throw 100 punches per round? Yeah. They were also under the impression that Winky Wright was like just a slick guy. Like, oh, he's slick, and I've sparred with Pernell Whitaker, the slickest southpaw of all time, and I'm like, Pernell Whitaker's 5'5". This dude is your size, and he stands in the pocket. He catches punches. Yeah, not slipping and sliding. He's strong.
Yep, he catches punches with the elbows,
the glove, right, and walk you down with and his jab is heavy, and they whatever they learned. And by the way, it wasn't Vargas who was discounting Winky Wright, although it was Vargas who was telling me that he sparred with Pernell Whitaker, the greatest southpaw of all time. It was his manager, his co-manager at the time, Rolando Arellano, was like, nah, we got this. I was like, no, you can't overlook this dude. So, whatever.
Shouldn't overlook it, man.
But you know what? The way Vargas wanted to fight Tito and the way Vargas wanted to fight, it was obsessed with Oscar De La Hoya. That reminds me of Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko. Because Team Lopez,
awesome.
Yeah, he and his father have had a hard-on for Vasily for at least a year, if not 2 years.
Not almost going on 3. Almost going
really
on
that
3.
long? Yeah, wow,
that long.
Wow.
Almost going on 3, and that's why I see this matchup. I'm like this. The Lopez been hawking Loma. It's almost like they dedicated their career for this moment, this moment. And I feel like it's a lot of people got Lomachenko. He's the favorite. I got Teofimo Lopez winning. I got Teofimo Lopez beating Vasyl Lomachenko.
Really? By knockout?
Stoppage.
Huh?
Stoppage. Going 12 rounds is going to be very hard, in my opinion, for Teofimo Lopez to beat him going 12 rounds. I do think that he has mastered the point system. He throws a lot of Teofimo Lopez, he doesn't throw a lot of punches. He's not a high volume puncher, so I don't think he's going to keep up with the punch count throughout a 12-round decision. But I do believe that Lomachenko got every tool in the toolbox. But to me, his defensive have been a little slippage, in my opinion. He does move a lot, great footwork, but he does sometimes make unnecessary movements in which, and then he also throws in between punches. He mixes the punches real well, but sometimes that's when he actually does get caught. Sometimes he gets bored. I think he sometimes gets bored and he gets lackadaisical, and then he forgets the range that he's in. Now, I'm not using. We do compare his past opponents, just like a lot of people want to compare Teofimo Lopez, Nakatani. They want to compare They want to compare the Lomas and the Salidos and the Linares. But in the end of the day, it's different styles. Linares, yes, he could be quicker, maybe. No, he's faster, but to me, Tio is quicker. Like faster and quicker is just two different things.
Right, I agree.
Teofimo Lopez, he doesn't make unnecessary movements.
Right. He's economical. Lopez is economical. He doesn't waste punches. He's accurate. And
very accurate with power punches.
Yeah, fast and accurate counter puncher. He's like a dynamic boxer puncher, counter puncher.
Exactly.
Generally speaking, that style, a pressure fighter or a stalker plays to that style's strengths. So if Lomachenko tries to put a bunch of pressure on him, he could run into something. And we've seen it at 135 pounds. He slowed down a little bit. He's not quick, not as nimble as he was at 126 and 130. And so we're seeing some of these lightweights land on him. Linares landed a lot. Linares, I don't remember. I was there in New York City for that fight, so I wasn't listening to what the ESPN commentators were saying, but among press row, it was an even fight until the stoppage. It was like it was seen that close. I'm sure the knockdown also helped Linares out in terms of points or whatever. But even in rounds, it was close. And I think going into the 10th round, maybe I had Lomachenko up by 1 round or so. But because of the knockdown, maybe I had it even or so. So obviously Linares was putting hands on him and getting to his body as well. And Linares, in some ways, he doesn't box like Lomachenko, but he's a fluid combination puncher.
Yeah, he is.
It's a lot. He's active. He's moving. He's active. So it was like this beautiful dance between them, and they were doing a lot of the finer points of the sport happening as they were trying to trap each other and stuff like that, and a lot going on with their footwork and positioning as they're letting their hands go. Pedraza landed punches. Luke Campbell won some rounds. He didn't get credit for all of that. At the end of the day, I think it was one-sided scorecards for Lomachenko in both the Pedraza and the Campbell fight. But I think after that after those 12 rounds, most fans were saying that wasn't easy work. Certainly for Lomachenko, he had to really work for it. What impressed me in the Linares fight is that he got the stoppage and he did it with a body shot, and he did it when he needed to. He needed to make something happen. Because I thought Linares was actually having a pretty good round up until that point. But against Pedraza and Campbell, tall, rangy dudes with skills and good experience, he wore them down. I think by the late rounds, they were feeling like, not just the mental fatigue keeping up with him, but physically, and they had I think they had caught it to the body as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, both guys went down in the 11th round of those bouts.
Both of them went down. I'm not.
Yeah.
What was Linares? What round he did go down? It was in the mid rounds. Okay.
Lomachenko went down in the mid rounds. Yeah, but Linares got taken out in the 10th round. What I'm saying is Lomachenko is definitely a 12-round fighter.
Yeah, definitely.
And he saved something for those championship rounds and really put some stress on his opponents, even these guys who were naturally bigger. Like by rounds 10, 11, 12, man, they're feeling it. They're just like, I think there's like an exhaustion, it's not like power that's putting them down. It's just this accumulation over the fight.
Yeah, I would love to. I would
in the late rounds. That'll be interesting because Teofimo has gone 12 rounds once.
Yeah, I would love for Teofimo Lopez to dictate the pace from the beginning. If he dictates the pace, makes his power, felt in the beginning, then I do think that Lomachenko will have to adjust pretty early. The good thing about Lomachenko, which makes a good fighter great, is that he makes timely adjustment in the ring. There's some fighters that need to lose that fight, go back into the drawing board, get another training camp, come back and get that and get that back. But Lomachenko, also, a lot of people say he's a technical fighter. He's more than a technical fighter. He's a fighter.
Yeah.
You get him hurt and you get him touched, he starts fighting back.
Yeah, there should never be any question about that because really he showed us that in his loss against Salido. I was one of the few. A lot of people were looking at Salido like, well, he's old, he's damaged goods, wear and tear, or Top Rank wouldn't have made this fight if they didn't know Lomachenko, who they just signed, is going to win it. Like they wouldn't have okayed Lomachenko to fight for this belt in his second pro fight if they didn't think he could do it. You know what I mean? They're investing in him. He's got a long future. And Salido has been through the meat grinder and all. But I favored Salido. I thought Team Lomachenko had bitten off more than they could chew. And I actually predicted like a late stoppage. I got to go back and check Ring TV
the archives
or whatever. And I wasn't alone in picking Salido, but I think most people went with, the amateur legend, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, with that incredible record, that incredible amateur record. But Lomachenko showed me something, like boxing writers have egos, like fight fans. We love to be right. We love to pick a fight.
Exactly.
Even if we don't have no money on it, it just adds to the excitement. You feel so good. Yeah. And, I was glad, the dude I picked won, and I was kind of in the minority there, but I was like, I'm sold on Lomachenko because I thought he was going to get ground. I know how Salido is, you know what I mean? And Salido came in heavy and he was rough and he had a referee that allowed him to be kind of creative with the body shots and stray low, more than a few times. And he took all that roughhousing tactics and punishment to his body and nether regions, and he was the stronger man down the stretch. And I seem to remember in the 12th and final round, Salido just hanging on like, good grief, man. Yeah. I couldn't stop you. You know what I mean? Like he's holding on like, let me just get through this round.
He got stamina. He got grit. He got another gear.
Yeah, he got it, and he showed it in the second pro bout, and he definitely showed it in the Linares fight. I thought he dug deep. And he had an injury.
No, that was the injury was against the Pedraza fight. He came out.
Well, no, he I think he hurt himself during the Linares fight, and he was still recovering from it with the Pedraza fight.
Yeah, because I think he probably came pretty early for that after that surgery, right? He had surgery. And Pedraza even, he was successful in certain spots as well. You know, so for me, the aura of Lomachenko, offensively, beautiful. I'll give him that. The Matrix offensively, but defensively, I don't see that matrix. I just don't see it defensively. I think he does great footwork to get out the way.
Yeah.
More like, it's almost like, remember Roy Jones Jr.? It wasn't really his defense. It was about reflexes.
Yeah.
And I think that's more Lomachenko. If his reflexes is not there.
Yeah.
With all the movement, he still gets in line to get hit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I would never describe Lomachenko as a defensive wizard or a defensive specialist. He's not Pernell Whitaker. He's not Floyd Mayweather. He's defensively responsible.
Mm-hmm.
He minimizes as much as he can the punches that might land on him.
Yeah.
But
he avoids getting flushed.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to hit him with the same punch over and over. I don't think I've seen that. I haven't seen anybody catch him with the same shot over and over.
That's the timely adjustments that he makes.
Right. So Linares got him with that right.
He never got that back.
He wasn't able to catch him clean with the straight right again. Linares actually switched his attention to the body.
Yeah. So with Tio is when people talk about, let's say, his age, they talk about Lomachenko 1 year layoff, right? But then people also got to remember Teofimo Lopez is 22 going to 23. He's getting stronger. He's getting faster. He's still not all the way up to his man strength. He's not in his prime. So even if we think that if he was strong last fight versus Richard Comey or faster, he's just gonna keep getting faster and stronger. I feel like I do say it a lot of times. I think that he has all the answers to Lomachenko's questions at this point because of the defense, because of Lomachenko's defense. If he would have been a supreme, like with his offense and defense, then I'm like, okay, this is hard one. This is gonna be a hard one for Tito.
If his defense was as good as his offense and his footwork, he'd be unbeatable.
The good thing about Lomachenko, he got feints and movement. Some fighters just got the feints. Some fighters just got movement.
I'm curious to see how Teofimo deals with the feints.
Yeah,
the head feints, the foot feints. I'm curious because I'm trying to think how many fighters has he faced that do that or that did that.
Yeah,
like the way Lomachenko does them. Yeah,
exactly. And Teofimo Lopez doesn't throw too many jabs, but like he doesn't waste any punches. That's what it is. He's very calculated, and with the power punches, he connects with almost like 50% on his power punches.
Yeah, that's very good.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I still got Tio winning. I think he's gonna prepare. I think he has the ability to walk him down. And people say, oh, he need to fight probably like Salido to rough him up. I don't think he need to do that. That's not his style.
That's changing the spots. I don't think fighters should do that.
Yeah,
you got to go with what got you there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to fight to your mentality.
Yeah,
because if you fight out of your mentality, you make mistakes or you stretch yourself out. You know what I mean? If you're not used to being, say, a pressure fighter or a volume puncher, if you've never boxed like that and you try to change your spots for one fighter, you burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Even if it's just mental. Because all these guys are in incredible shape, but if you're not used to punching 3 minutes of a round or pressing a guy, getting on top of them and swarming them, it's not you. It's not, you're gonna be presented with with punches that you usually don't have to deal with. Like if you're somebody like you're used to boxing from the outside on your toes and working a jab from a distance, you're used to seeing everything.
Yeah.
You're seldom going to get hit with an uppercut. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a guy who's used to fighting on the inside, you've developed defensive, counter punching and defense based on what's coming at you from that angle, from that proximity.
Yeah.
So you're used to, okay, I got to block this, I block the uppercut and counter with the hook or whatever. And you're going to have a lot of hooks and crosses and short inside punches because you're an inside fighter. True. But if you're not used to being that, then you're going to get it. You know what I mean? You're going to be presented with punches you usually don't deal with. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing at the highest level when you see guys change the way they fight for a particular fighter. And usually it's that fighter who has a mystique.
Exactly.
Yeah, there were a lot of fighters who didn't, they changed the way they fought when they fought him, when they might have been better off boxing within their skin.
Exactly. And that's
what Mayweather and kind of bang on his body and tell him, dude, that's not you.
Exactly.
You got to get on your toes and work your jab. And he had success with his jab.
He was success.
He was actually landing the jab. But that was, and that was also Freddie Roach. Roach wanted him to jump on Mayweather because that's probably what Roach would have done. It's him, man, And but that's not Oscar, I'm Oscar, 10 years removed from his prime, he was going to have stamina problems, and he had stamina problems at his peak. So obviously
he came back from middleweight down. Remember?
Did he drop? Or he went up to middleweight.
No, that was middleweight with Manny Pacquiao. He came back. He came back from 47 with Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. But you gotta fight. You gotta be yourself, And it seemed to me like Mosley against Mayweather was trying to box, trying to stay out there, and he's pawing with the jab and all. And he had that moment in the second round. He really needed to just go crazy, like really from the front, like risk it. Go out there and blitz the dude. Because he's never gonna, he's at best a checkers player. A checkers player can't beat a chess master, a grandmaster at chess.
And also, I don't think in the professional level that Lomachenko has faced anybody athletically wise like a Teofimo Lopez.
No, Teofimo's off the charts athletically.
Yeah,
Teofimo, I watched him. It's not a bad analogy. I mean, like Roy Jones athletically was above everybody. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
But he reminds me of Roy Jones in some ways, where he does certain things in the ring that you don't see anybody do. Like you've probably seen it. There's like a photograph of him where he's jabbing some dude and he's hopping 3 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And he's landing it. I don't remember the dude he was fighting. He wasn't a big fighter or nothing, but man, I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he's got air.
Yeah.
And he's bam. And it's like a karate movie. It's like, what does this dude do? And like the fact that, he'll go through a fight and then in that adrenaline rush, upon victory, he maybe takes 1 or 2 steps and he does a backflip.
Yeah.
And he gets air. I mean,
he gets air.
To do a flip, you have to have, to do a grown man to do a cartwheel, you got to have your coordination and athleticism and all. But to do a no hand backflip like that, you are an exceptional athlete.
So then when they talk about the Lomachenko movement, he got supreme movement. But when you got an athleticism, can he pivot out those type of movement? Can he control the range also? And I think that's why I do have it. That's why I say I feel he got all the answers to Lomachenko's questions. But we're gonna see tomorrow. This is just
that's a great thing. Watching the fight. Yeah. But it's a fair pick. Picking Lomachenko is obviously that's going with the chalk, and that's what the majority are gonna do. What are the odds for Lomachenko? Is he 4-1? Is he plus 400?
Plus 400.
It'll come down. It'll probably come down to like plus 350 or plus 300 or something. I think there'll be some late money on Teofimo Lopez.
A lot of people bet it.
Is a fair pick because of the size differential here, and it's not just size. It's the fact that he is a precocious boxing talent. He was hands down prospect of the year in 2018. Yeah, and he's proven himself. And he's got his style is a bit unique. So you can have a guy who's got a great amateur background and elite level speed and technique, like Gary Russell Jr. had that, and Lomachenko still took care of business. But Gary Russell Jr. he's a southpaw. He has traditional technique. Yeah, it's textbook technique. Jab, straight left, hook. It's the fundamentals. And Lopez's father, they kind of threw the textbook out a little bit. Yep, it's their style. They came up with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Prince Nassim Hamed, another one of those exceptional athletes with one hitter quitter power, guy who could do a flip easy. It was nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had his all part of his power and his ability to whack guys out of there is that his opponents couldn't predict what he was going to do.
Exactly.
He can generate power from odd angles. And so I guess the word I'm looking for here is unorthodox.
Unorthodox.
An unorthodox fighter, whether they're lefty or righty, Lomachenko, he has the answer for them because he's got such a body of work as an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he faced all kind of styles, and you know, he's like, I know what to do with this kind of, you know, a tall guy or a southpaw or a short guy or a pressure fighter or counter puncher or whatever. But somebody who could put a lot of different parts together, like Lopez, and kind of improvise a little bit and come up with his own thing. That's dangerous for a boxer like Lomachenko. It really is.
With Gary Russell Jr., I just felt that he great talent. I'm actually a fan of Gary Russell Jr. I don't like the way the business is going on. His career has been going.
Sucks. But he's in the ring. I respect him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of guys that, you know, they're just guys that he's taken out. Mm-hmm. But he beat Jojo Diaz.
Yeah, that was a good win.
That's a big deal. He beat Jojo Diaz, undefeated Jojo Diaz, beat that guy King Tug. These guys were mandatory challengers, and they were undefeated up-and-comers with terrific amateur backgrounds, and they were looking like $1 million before they fought Gary.
Yeah.
And Gary he sunned them, really. He was just the man, and they were boys to him.
Yeah. I feel like Gary Russell just throws everything at one speed. He throws everything out. He threw everything at one speed versus Lomachenko. You can't do that.
Right.
You know?
Right. And he's a little flat-footed in comparison to Lomachenko.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's going to be a good fight. Let me ask you this. What do you think about the undisputed
It's so hard. It's frustrating. It's hard to get undisputed champions, especially now that we count the W. Used to be, you know, back in the day when I was first becoming a hardcore fight fan, there were 3 belts.
Yeah.
You know, actually, when I was first started following boxing, there were 2 belts. It was the WBA, that was the old one, and the WBC, the green belt, which was a little more prominent. WBC has always been good about making sure their belts on TV. Like, they got marketing down.
Yeah. They got the Mayan. They got the Mayans bet, the copper belt.
They saturate the market, don't they?
The Middle East belt now. They got the trainer belt now. They got the trainer belt.
Trainers love it, don't they? They love it.
A lot of sanctioning fees, man.
I respect them. I want to get some of that game for Ring. But it was 2. First, it was, you know, you unify those 2 belts and you're undisputed, like when Sugar Ray Leonard beat Tommy Hearns, right? Or a few years later when Donald Curry beat Milton McCrory.
Yeah.
You know, the WBA champ, WBC champ. Come on, guys, fight. And they would do it. And then you have an undisputed champion. And then you had the IBF to the mix, and then you had like Marvin Hagler and later Mike Tyson, and they was cool. You see, they have 1 belt around the waist, one over one shoulder, the other over the other, the crisscross, and it was like, man, he's undisputed, you know. And you know, in the late '80s, the WBO came around, and eventually WBO became a major belt. How it's so hard to get somebody to hold all 4 at the same time. It's only happened a couple times in history. So you have Bernard Hopkins did it when he beat Oscar in 2004. You got Crawford did it. Yeah, Crawford did it at 140 pounds a couple years ago. Yeah. The former female champion at welterweight, Cecilia Breku, she had all 4.
Yeah.
Correct. Oh, and recently Alexander Usyk.
Alexander Usyk got cruiserweight.
You know, and then he moved up to heavyweight, so now the belts are scattered to the wind. So it's so difficult to get all 4. And the fact of the matter is, you know, these belts, they have their commitments to whoever's number 1 or mandatory within their rankings. And which sucks is 80% of the time those mandatory challengers suck. Yeah. So it's like, why are you going to strip him for this guy?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, don't do that. You know, like Tyson Fury, right after he beat Vladimir Klitschko, I think the IBF stripped him like within 30 days because their number one contender was Tsar Glazkov or something. It's like, strip Fury for Glazkov? And you got Glazkov fight, who was that guy's name? Prince Charles. Is that of St. Louis? Brother with dreadlocks. Whatever. Some guy. He was waiting to fight because I think Glazkov twisted his ankle or something. And then he gets paid $4 or $5 million to go to London to get knocked out by Anthony Joshua. That's how Joshua became a title holder so quick. Is they had this easy mark, this belt holder. You know what I mean? And then it messes things up. But it's, I mean, listen.
So for this fight, it's been so controversial with the WBC, the franchise, Devin Haney having how you see this fight for you personally?
I view them as a champ. I don't care if you want to call them undisputed or not. I mean, to me, they're undisputed because Lomachenko won the WBC belt when he beat Luke Campbell, who's a credible opponent, right? It was on the line. And then he's elevated to franchise champion, which, okay, and then Haney gets the belt that way. Haney didn't beat anybody to get the belt. So and here's the thing, like I said, I'm biased. I'm the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine. Whoever has the Ring Magazine title, to me, is the real champion. Because it's very hard to get that belt. You have to beat multiple major title holders to get to the Ring Magazine championship. Yeah. I look at the guys who have the Ring title. They can fight. Canelo Alvarez, love him or hate him, that dude can fight.
I love Canelo. He can fight.
He can fight and he'll challenge himself. Naoya Inoue, if you heard of him, he's the monster. If not, the first time you see him fight, you'll be impressed. He's our bantamweight champion. Juan Francisco Estrada is our junior bantamweight champion. Complete fighter. Dude, I got
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury's the heavyweight champion, right? Even though Anthony Joshua has 3 major titles, I view the Ring Magazine champion as the real champion. So it's just simpler that way. We are less likely to strip a guy than the sanctioning bodies. The sanctioning bodies, they do stuff. They might change. Like the WBA has done this. A guy has been the WBA champ, and he was like their super champ. Yeah. And then somebody else who's got a bigger name fights, and they're like, no, he's actually our super champ, and you're the regular champ. They'll just demote you. Yeah. Like they'll change your status on that without your permission, as a fighter. It's just like, what? It's hard with the sanctioning organizations. And then the IBF is good at following their rules, but like I said, they'll strip you. They'll strip guys. And it often happens, before a unification or right after a unification. And I would be less offended by that or upset by that if their number one contenders were always really good. Sometimes they are good, like Sergey Derevyanchenko. That was a worthy mandatory challenger and all. Okay. I still don't think they should have stripped Golovkin or Canelo for that. I think they could have been a little more patient or whatever, but whatever, they follow their rules and that's great. I just don't like it when I look at the rankings and whatever. I don't know. I don't care to see Anthony Joshua fight Kubrat Pulev, and nothing against Pulev. I'm not saying he's not a solid heavyweight, but number one mandatory? No way. He's not number one. You can't. Who did he beat? How did he climb all the way to number one? Who the hell did Pulev beat?
That's the IBF. Sometimes you see people climbing from 12 to like 1.
I've heard fans say, well, the IBF is the most respected, or should be, because they follow their rules.
The strictest.
And it's great that you follow your rules and you're strict with it, but if you're stripping guys and your mandatory challenger is garbage, I don't like that. That's not fair. I don't even know who's the guy from China that was the mandatory challenger for Artur Beterbiev. I went and looked him up on YouTube. He's not good. I'm like, you can't tell me who that beat to get to number one. You can't justify him being mandatory. That's why I don't like it.
You could go to the IBF and then this month you see a guy number 12 and then you switch up the next month and it's like, oh, they're number 2.
Right. And then sometimes they leave number 1 and number 2 vacant. They'll leave that vacant.
Number 2. Yeah, it's weird.
Contender. And then they'll make that number 3 contender the mandatory.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally weird. I'm like, what?
That's weird.
I don't know. But it gets very confusing. I went on that Zoom call. I think it was Monday. I was on that Zoom call with Mauricio Suleiman and the WBC where he was talking about. I'm the one who asked the question. I actually asked Suleiman. Okay. I said, were you and the WBC, will you view the winner of Lomachenko Lopez as undisputed, even though Devin Haney has your belt?
Yeah.
And he said, yes.
Yes.
He will be undisputed, even though there is this WBC champion apart, from the undisputed champion. And he said, the franchise belt is above the other belts. And then he said, and in this case, it's transferable. If Lomachenko loses, Teofimo will get the franchise belt. So it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever,
Exactly. I've been saying
there's all that confusion. Like, what? I'm like, whatever.
I said since day one. Since day one, I'm like, Devin Haney, throw that belt in the garbage, like Riddick Bowe. Throw it in the garbage. Because now for me, like
belts, though. It's hard. I don't hold it against the fighters. I mean, that's what
it is. But when we speak about it, because of course we're trying to like critique what the WBC has done, but then of course the fighter is gonna get made fun of.
No, you might get made fun of if you were emailed your belt or whatever. You didn't win it in the ring, or if there's a WBA super champion and you're the regular champion. But here's the thing: I don't blame fighters for paying that sanctioning fee or fighting for it, because in most contracts, when you win a world title, if you're good enough to be signed to a promotional company, right?
Yeah.
And you can win a world title within those 3 years, you're going to make a lot more money. If you win a world title at the end of your contract, you have negotiating power. There's other promoters that are going to want you. And if that promoter wants to re-sign with you, you're like, going to have to add some zeros or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And there's like minimums. You once you have a major, what the promoter or the networks recognize as a major world title, and that's WBO, WBA, regular or super or interim, WBC, IBF. When you win that belt, your pay automatically goes up.
Yeah. So it's more of a positioning thing more than just carrying the belt.
So I don't get mad at the fighters, wanting the belts, and I get it. It is frustrating as a fan. It always frustrated me as a fan, growing up, when I'm expecting a fight to be a unification bout and one of the sanctioning bodies stripped a dude, Like when James Toney was going to fight, and he did fight him, Mike McCallum. Okay. This is in 1990, I think, or 90. Yeah. No, that was 91. It was into 91. James Toney had just won the IBF belt. He beat the upset Michael Nunn, and he was fighting every month, man. He defended it against Reggie Johnson like 30 days later, and then
those are the days. I
know. He was going to end the year fighting a fellow champion, Mike McCallum, who was the real deal. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, they're going to unify the belts, and the WBA strips Mike McCallum. I'm like, how are you going to strip Mike McCallum? Like, this is a fan, and it's only really the hardcore fans that get really uptight about the belts and the unifications. The most important thing is the best fighting the best.
And that's what we have.
People don't remember that Diego Corrales was the WBO lightweight champ and Jose Luis Castillo was the WBC lightweight title holder. They just remember that fight was epic.
Yeah.
It's about the fighters and the fights ultimately. So, and
then the belts, the fighters make the belts sometimes.
They do, totally.
Like the WBO, Cotto, Pacquiao, they have made the WBO.
De La Hoya helped the WBO out a lot. Before the WBO, when the IBF was the new kid on the block, Marvin Hagler and Larry Holmes helped establish the IBF.
Yeah. So the new Hall of Fame inductees came out. Who you got? Who you pick?
I got right off the bat Floyd Mayweather. First, he got the first. I got it right over here. The first check mark I put down there. Everyone went, "Oh, you hate Floyd Mayweather." You hate Floyd Mayweather. I'm like, listen, I'm a big fan of the pretty boy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the pretty boy.
Once you put business before the sport, I'm going to view you as a businessman.
Exactly.
I don't stand businessmen. And I like fights to happen when they're supposed to happen.
Exactly.
I wasn't a big Pernell Whitaker fan as a lightweight. I didn't even like hearing people say, "Oh, he's the best lightweight since Roberto Duran." I'm like, don't put him in the same sentence as Duran. Duran would kill him. You know, I don't think that anymore. At some point, watching Pernell and who he fought and going up to welterweight and being able to hang in there with bigger, stronger guys, I'm like, okay, maybe Duran wouldn't have killed him. You know, and maybe that would have
been a tough one. That would have been a tough one.
Respect. See, I didn't enjoy his style, especially as a lightweight. That is, when he went up to 147. He's a small welterweight, but he planted his feet. He stayed in the pocket.
Yeah.
And was just as elusive. And could punch while he's slipping punches and go to the body. And I was like, I see the brilliance. I see it now. And I respected him because the right fights happened at the right time, particularly that Chavez fight.
Yep.
That didn't marinate. That didn't drag on, you know. And I, as a hardcore fan, I respected that he beat Buddy McGirt for that WBC welterweight title. You beat a real guy.
Yeah. Buddy was nice.
In the theater at Madison Square Garden. But anyways, Pernell. Mayweather. You know what, Mayweather? It's just the opposite. Pernell, I didn't appreciate him as a lightweight. Appreciated him as a welterweight. Mayweather loved him as a junior lightweight. Appreciated him as a lightweight. Not so high on him as a welterweight, even though he fought a lot of guys. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me say, all right, you got Floyd, Miguel. You got Miguel. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Miguel Cotto, Vladimir Klitschko, James Toney.
Yeah.
And what's the one on top of Miguel Cotto?
Nigel Ben.
Nigel Ben.
That's my hardcore fan pick. That's my pick. That's my pick of, there's always some guy who's been lingering on the ballot. And I know he doesn't get a lot of votes or whatever, but I want to keep him on the ballot, and I vote because I think he's worthy. He's worthy whenever he gets in. You know, Nigel Ben's not one of those guys first ballot. He has to go in like Mayweather. Yeah. He's not like that. But he was so exciting. He did so much for British boxing, and he was very brave. He came over to the United States and was a TV fighter here, and he had that great rivalry with Chris Eubank. In fact, I think they should go in on a slow year. I think Eubank and Nigel Ben should go in together. I mean, all of Britain would come out to Canastota.
I was thinking about my last pick was, damn it, it was James Toney or Andre Ward. But then I was thinking about the 2-year layoff, almost short career. Yeah, one of my favorite fighters, but I left them out.
You're one of the few. I did. See, I left him out. Everyone's going to say I hate him. I'm a hater or whatever, or you don't appreciate Andre Ward. And it's like, no, I think Andre Ward is worthy. He's a two-division champion, 2-division Ring Magazine champion. Yep. It's
one of my favorite fighters, but I'm like,
at the end of the day, he fought 32 times.
Exactly. And then he was out.
And that's the reason he was. Yep. He lost years off his prime with the lawsuit with Goose and Tudor. Yeah. And if you look, here's how I break it down with Andre Ward and the guys that got in.
Okay.
If I try to do a top 10 with all those inductees, everybody on the top 10 is at least like a world champion. Everybody that's a check mark.
Yeah.
By their names from me. They were all world class. And if you talk about somebody like Miguel Cotto, the top 5 or top 4, I mean, they're Hall of Famers. Exactly. You talk about, and you talk about James Toney, top, at least the top 3 or top 4, they're Hall of Famers are all-time greats.
Yeah. And he could have been great.
Toney, if I compile a top 10, his top 10 opponents at the bottom, 9 or 10 will be like Vasily Girov, undefeated cruiserweight champion, Olympic gold medalist, 1996 Val Barker Award winner for most outstanding boxer of that Olympic tournament. He barely makes the cut. If I compile a top 10 for Miguel Cotto, I don't know that Paulie Malignaggi makes the top 10. He's a 2-division title holder. I don't know that Daniel Gill makes that top 10. Mm-hmm. He was a unified middleweight title holder. You know what I mean? There's so many solid fighters, title holders, don't make the cut. And you look at his top 10, he fought Mayweather, he fought Pacquiao, He fought Sergio Martinez.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like those guys are in.
Yeah. And in today's age, people are just they win belts and they dropping the belt right back.
Right.
You know, it's becoming too much of a trend. Like nobody's making the defense.
Right.
You know?
And they're hopping, you know, they division hop. And sometimes it used to mean you're seeking challenges, but now you're getting away from challenges.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like I would love, because Teofimo Lopez said that if he wins this fight, he's going to 140. He wants to win over Ramirez or Taylor. See, if you're moving up for that, I'm with it.
That makes sense. That makes total sense.
But if you're going to stay in 135, then I would like to see a Devin Haney fight. I'd like to see that fight. Yep. You know, I think the momentum of Gervonta Tank Davis, if he beats Leo Santa Cruz and he wants to come back at 135, and let's say Tio beats Lomachenko, they're gonna hype that fight up more than a Devin Haney fight because the momentum of it.
Yeah, of course. There's more on the table for it, and you know what I really like. I like these young guys.
Yeah, me too.
At or around 135 to 140. They all
140 gonna be beautiful.
Yeah. But I like that Ryan Garcia is fighting Luke Campbell.
Yep.
And if he wins, there's a big fight that can be made between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, and they've got amateur history, and they can talk it up, and it would you know, whatever platform carries that. I guess it would be DAZN. DAZN would get some subscribers.
Yep.
You know, now if you're talking about one of these guys going off their platform, like a Teofimo Lopez leaving ESPN to fight Tank Davis in a Fox or a Showtime pay-per-view, or you're talking about Ryan Garcia leaving DAZN for a one-off to fight Tank Davis on a Showtime pay-per-view, that does pay-per-view buys.
Yep.
Really, that'll make money.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the younger fighters is probably more interesting than the prime fighters right now.
I agree. I'm more into, and I've heard other people talk about this, other fans and podcasters say, you know, talk about how they're more excited about Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Jaron Ennis than they are welterweight title holders, you know, or the top 5 welterweights, you know, who have been around.
Because we see they're not hungry, and they just showing it. Right. They showing it to us that they're not hungry.
Right.
You know, all of them are having weight problems. They talk about their weight. From the Andy Ruiz or from Earl Spence was talking about his weight, that he had to lose 20 pounds in a week for the Porter fight. It showed, right? Yeah. Keith Thurman and his weight problems and his inactivity. I mean, I think
you know what? And I would say Thurman is a poster boy for like why the modern boxer doesn't get as much respect as the guys of yesteryear, even though if you look at his resume, it's terrific.
Yeah.
Before he lost to Pacquiao, and I don't even consider the Pacquiao loss a detraction.
No.
I think he got up from a first round knockdown, got shocked, you know, got caught, got up, and acquitted himself quite well. He made it competitive, you know, and it was an entertaining fight. Losses like that don't detract.
That's a character fight. Like it shows character.
And that's good, but there's never any momentum.
Yeah.
Nothing afterwards. You know, with or without the pandemic, you weren't hearing what's next, because that fight was like last July.
Yeah, July 20th.
He could have fought in November or December.
Yeah.
Certainly a James Tony. Certainly an Oscar De La Hoya would have.
Well, he had surgery, right? He had the surgery.
Okay, so maybe there's a surgeries, but there's the problem, you know. So he beats Sean Porter. That's great. He beats Danny Garcia, but there's this time between these fights.
Yeah,
where nothing's happening, and it's just like out of sight, out of mind. It's hard. It's hard to garner a fan base when you're not active and not actively seeking out challenges. You know, and that's why guys like Fernando Vargas, even after he was decimated by Felix Trinidad, he had this dedicated fan base that stood by him, and they rode for him going into that De La Hoya fight, and he lost. Right. And for the remainder of his career, didn't matter where he went. He could be in Tucson, Arizona. He could be in Chicago. He could be in Vegas. He could be in LA. He'd sell the venue out. There was like at least 15,000 fans of the Ferocious Squad, or whatever he called his fans, that they were devoted to him. And that's because on his way up, he was fighting Yuri Boy Campos and Winky Wright and Raul Marquez and Ike Corte and Felix Trinidad in succession, like literally within a 2-year span. And they're on HBO or occasionally on HBO pay-per-view. People saw it. And if it was on HBO pay-per-view, 1 week later it was on HBO and a wider audience saw it. So, I mean, that's what boxing's missing right now.
Yeah, it is missing, and that's why I like the move that Teofimo Lopez made. At this age, fighting Lomachenko, just like at 23 years old, Oscar De La Hoya fought Julio Cesar Chavez. That preparing for more stardom, you know? And that's why I say, yo, if Teofimo Lopez also wins, then other fighters going to follow suit, or they're going to be exposed by the fans. We're going to look at it like, well, Teofimo Lopez fought Richard and went to Loma. Why are you fighting this guy? Why are you fighting this guy?
Right. I hope it creates that. But I the way I look at it is, you know, it's just like talent. Fighters have special talent, and Teofimo has that. And just because you have that special talent, though, doesn't mean you're going to dare to be great. You know, just because you have the talent to be great doesn't mean you're going to dare to be great. And it's really, it's rare to have that talent to be great. And it's even more rare if you have that talent to actually want to be great. Yeah. And take those risks. It's so rare. So I think there's always Teofimo. Yeah, I take my hat off to him because he beat Comey, was that December?
Yep.
And then he was ready to face Lomachenko like in May of this year, right?
No, May 30th. It was supposed to be May 30th, right?
And that's like just come on, let's do it right next.
Exactly.
You know? I don't want to. Yeah.
No over marinating stuff.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yep, it's very rare.
Very rare.
But I hope we do. I mean, I hope after that they make the fight. They start negotiating with Taylor Ramirez for another undisputed bout. Yeah. Bob Arum is doing a good job.
No, they're doing it. Yeah, they are. They are. And kudos to Top Rank and the ESPN. Hey, for signing a guy from Scotland. You know, the Ring Magazine champ, Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
The World Boxing Super Series 140 tournament, right? They already had a junior welterweight champ who unified 2 belts and does good ratings and is a ticket seller in his home region in California. And you know, kudos for them to want to create an undisputed champion. And in the long game, they're looking at somebody to step up to 147 and be a viable, worthy opponent for Terrence Crawford. And that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you get, you know, you American fans are introduced to this Scotsman who's obviously he entered that tournament, so he's willing to face anybody, and he's already battle tested. Already has Regis Prograis and Ivan Baranchik and Victor Postol on his resume. So
good resume. And then
I'm biased, but to me the ring is the real champ. So, but regardless, whoever wins Taylor Ramirez, they're there for Teofimo. Because lose or draw against Lomachenko tomorrow night, he's going to move up.
And then they signed Inoue.
Right, Inoue, a Japanese star. That's awesome. A bantamweight, you know, and they're putting the marketing muscle behind him, and so I mean they're hats off to Top Rank, and really what's going to really save boxing or keep its current fan base and add to it or grow it is the platforms doing business. Yeah. At least when it makes sense. Just working out a deal to where, you know, like one of these lightweights who are affiliated with either Eddie Hearn or Golden Boy that fight on the zone right now, if one of them can just for one night go to ESPN, be a bigger audience, you know what I mean? And fight somebody like Teofimo Lopez. Those are excellent fights. I mean, there's no way that there wouldn't be a huge buildup if Teofimo Lopez, especially if he beats Lomachenko with all those belts, if he were to fight Devin Haney. You know,
and shout out to women boxing as well. Women boxing is very entertaining. All the fights are entertaining. Yeah, that McCaskill and the First Lady. Yeah, man, that was good. And Katie Taylor. I wanted to see Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. I wanted to see that.
That's got to happen. I think it'll happen. I don't know what happened with that, or you know.
Yeah, I did an interview with her. I had her, man. They said a lot of things about what happened, the fallout business wise, and But I hope they come around and make that fight.
Even if they don't trust Eddie Hearn or they felt that they were disrespected or not treated right that first go around, they still need that fight. Like who else? If Amanda Serrano doesn't fight Katie Taylor, who does she fight? Well, maybe McCaskill.
Yeah.
Jessica McCaskill, especially if McCaskill beats Breakhus again. Yeah, she'll be the Ring Magazine Women's Welterweight Champion, the first ever. So she'll be at the table there, and Serrano has proven she could fight at any weight.
Anyway, 7th division world champion.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, she's pound for pound. Yeah, she's all and she can fight. She's got skill and she can punch.
Yeah,
she knocks people out. You know, like it's
and that's what's needed in women boxing. In my opinion.
Yeah,
you know, they need some knockouts.
If Ann Wolf was around knocking people out, she'd be big.
Yep, at this time.
She'd have a major promoter and she'd be fighting on ESPN, Showtime, Fox, or DAZN. She'd be fighting on one of these major platforms and making some good money.
And what do you think about the promote the promoters nowadays? I just feel like the promotion is so different. Like they're not promoting the fighters. They're probably just promoting the event. I just feel like they probably have a dinosaur strategy.
A little bit, yeah. I feel like the major promoters, it's like their survival or like a major component of their business structure, and it's been this way for at least a few decades. It's their network or broadcast platform allegiance, their partnership. It's not even an allegiance. It's a partnership. Like It's like a promoter partners up with a network or a streaming platform, whether it's DAZN, or Showtime, Fox, ESPN, and then they have their own little universe there. And it's almost like they kind of like take a step back and like, okay, the network is going to promote this, and that's not how it used to be. It used to be the promoter develops a talent. Okay. It's the promoter's job to move a fighter along and create a fan base, especially if they have a special talent or a fighter with charisma. Let's take Fernando Vargas, since we've been talking about him.
Yeah.
He was an Olympian. He wasn't a medalist, but he was an Olympian, 1996 Olympics, same Olympics as, Floyd Mayweather and some others.
That was a good class. That was a good class.
Very good class. I think Antonio Tarver came out of that class. And, Vladimir Klitschko came out of. He was a 201-pound gold medalist. The aforementioned Vasily Girov. Internationally, there was a lot of talent that came out of the Atlanta Games. Yeah. But main event saw something. He was precocious because he was real young. He was winning open class national titles when he was 16, 17 years old. And so I think Shelly Finkel had his eye on him, and he had a good eye for talent, and he worked closely with main events, and they signed him and they developed him, and he's not affiliated, even though he's affiliated with a promoter, he's not right off the bat affiliated with a network. Yeah. So he's fighting on a number of different, as he's learning, and he was precocious. He learned fast. Didn't take him long. Took him 14 fights, and then, okay, you're ready to fight a champion, Yuri Boykampis, whose record was crazy. His record was like 72 and 2 losses, 72 wins, maybe 70 knockouts and 2 losses, something crazy like that, Yeah. A top-ranked fighter, actually. I remember a lot of insiders betting on Yuri Boy because of that experience and the power. But they developed. He's fighting, so he's fighting on ESPN and USA Tuesday Night Fights, off TV, and on pay-per-view undercards here and there, wherever they can stick them. Boxing After Dark, and it's by the time he's ready to be like an HBO contract fighter, they've done that. He's got his fan base. What he's supposed to do as a fighter. And Fernando did the extra. Fernando Vargas in the social media age would have been huge. Oh yeah, a lot of these fighters. Fans, he was like a heel too. He right out as soon as he turned pro. I hate Oscar De La Hoya. I'm aiming for him. Yeah. So if you hated Oscar De La Hoya, you loved him. Yeah. And he had his fans. He had his haters. He had whatever. but main events developed him as a promoter, and they weren't reliant on HBO. They weren't reliant on other promoters or whatever. They developed their product and they had him. And it's the same thing with Arturo Gatti. Didn't matter where, they knew how to develop that talent. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it done as well. Top Rank's pretty good at it. Top Rank, they're all, Aram goes back to the 60s, and they have a formula and all. And they've raised their game. I think Todd DeBuff has come into his own in recent years, and he was a big part of the Top Rank leaving HBO and going to ESPN and brokering that deal. And they've stepped it up. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow night is a real triumph that we have this pay-per-view level fight that's just going to be on regular ESPN after a football game. And they're even going to have, the undercard fights and all. And so it's just going to be this huge audience,
What do you think about Edgar Berlanga?
Oh, I love him. He's a knockout artist, and the power's real, and he's knocked out some tough guys, and he's in with a durable guy tomorrow night. And it's great that he gets to whet the appetite of the fans, the people who come in. Maybe the casual fans. The casual fans they're not going to get into Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather or even a Vasyl Lomachenko right off the bat. They don't have the eyes. They don't have the taste buds to taste that kind of flavor. You know what I mean? They want like spicy. They want they want fried chicken.
They like that 8 knockdown fight.
Yeah, like that one. Jose Zepeda and Ivan Baranchyk. That makes fans. Shootouts make fans. So yeah, I like him. And he's trained by what's his name out of New York City, right? Danny Jacobs' old trainer,
Andre
Rozier. Andre, right? That's his trainer. Yeah, so that's a good trainer. So I mean,
he's a good trainer. Yeah.
I like hearing him between rounds too. He's a good interview. Most trainers are good interviews, man.
He's a good interview. He's very humble. I met him in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
How many years you How many years you been doing this?
I started freelance writing in the mid-90s. So the first byline I had in Ring Magazine was 1995, 94 or 95. I think it was on the magazine, it says January 95 or something, but that means I wrote it in like late 94 or so. So mid 90s, just freelancing here and there. I had a 9-to-5 job. I worked out. I used to work out back then. There was a gym called the LA Boxing Club in downtown Los Angeles. Okay. And I would go there, that's what really, once I started working out there, that's what gave me the idea to start doing freelance stories, because I saw all these fighters who were coming up, like Sugar Sean Mosley, and world champions, and anybody from like other countries that were fighting either in Vegas or in the Los Angeles area. They would come in like a month early. They would come in and train at the LA Boxing Club, and I'd see them. So I saw these guys who were coming up, out of Tijuana, like Eric Morales, when people didn't know who he was and that kind of thing. And I'd watch him spar. I'd talk to him. If they didn't speak English, I'd find another fighter or somebody else who was bilingual at the gym, and I would just talk to him out of my own curiosity. And at some point, I'm like, this could be a story because I don't think people know this.
Yeah. Boxing is like that. There's a lot of stories that people don't know.
Yeah. So I started in the mid 90s. And then once the internet got up to speed, I went in that direction because a guy who was being trained by my same trainer, that was the aforementioned Gary Randall, and he was a webmaster. And in those days, it was real hard to put up a web page. You had to know the code, HTML and all that. It was like, it's another language, Yeah. He spoke that language. And so he showed me what he had done. And we would train together. We would even spar together and stuff like that. And he was like, man, I've always wanted to have a boxing website, but the last 2 that I've put up, they've made me take it down. The attorneys. I said, what attorneys? He said, oh, the attorneys from Showtime. I said, well, what did you do? He's like, well, I was posting up clips from Tyson Holyfield. I was like, okay. They're kind of, yeah, you can't do that. I said, but if we're credentialed as media, we could get video footage at these gyms, take photos, do stories. We own that. That's ours.
Yeah.
You know, and we could do this website.
You started this YouTube stuff.
Well, I wasn't the first. There were some other. There weren't a lot, or maybe 2 or 3, but there were some other.
But you're the name that resonate. You're the face.
Yeah, we went live with houseofboxing.com in '97, and a couple of years, you know, there was venture capitalist interest in the internet, and you know, we got bought. We got bought out by a company that, you know, instantly made it sort of like a hobby to a full-time job. So I started the year 2000, 20 years ago. I started the year 2000 as a full-time boxing writer for the internet, which was very unique at that time. But we had money behind us for a while, and we made a big move by signing Michael Katz as an exclusive columnist. So he went from the New York Daily News, one of the boss scribes in the sports world, but certainly boxing, the dean of boxing writers, so to speak. He came over exclusively to House of Boxing, and then later Max Boxing. Yeah. And that really helped establish ourselves within the industry, really put us on the map. Obviously raised the quality of our writing. Not to say that I wasn't writing good stuff or Steve Kim weren't writing good stuff, but we were young writers. And you know,
you used to work with Steve Kim too.
Yeah, Steve Kim. Yeah, Steve Kim came on, and no, he came on with House of Boxing. I was going to say he came on with Max Boxing, but no. All of us who formed the core of Max Boxing, we were all together with House of Boxing, because once Harry and I got that financial backing, we didn't just bring over the old school and Michael Katz and Thomas Hauser. We brought in Steve Kim and Thomas Gerbasi. So it was a nice. We were on the East Coast and the West Coast, and we had the established writers and authors in the case of Hauser, and young up and coming writers, you know, like Steve Kim and I and Thomas Gerbasi.
That's what's up, man. You got a lot of knowledge. You picked up a lot of knowledge. You came across a lot of fighters. What was your starstruck? What was that one fighter you'd be like, man, I'm
never
talking to this guy.
I don't get starstruck. Oh, well, okay, Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah,
that was your favorite. That was your favorite fighter.
Yeah. As a kid, so and I haven't had a lot of interaction with Sugar Ray, but we did a pay-per-view show 10 years ago. Yeah, it was not a good fight, but it was still kind of interesting. It was the rematch between Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, 16 or 17 years after their first fight. But I was elated just to work with him, just to be able to say I'm doing a broadcast with Sugar Ray Leonard, and Tessitore was the play-by-play, the blow-by-blow, the host, and that was a real thrill. Because he's such a professional and so respected with all sports. But anytime I'm around Ray, I feel good. I feel positive. Yeah. You know, I think before the I mean, it was either before the first fight or the rematch between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. I went to his house in the Palisades with Steve Kim and you know, a little small film crew, and Steve Kim interviewed him in his home gym. It's a little gym, but he's got all this memorabilia on the wall. And from one end of the wall to the next, if you go to all 4 walls, it's put up in chronological order. So you got like amateur stuff, amateur awards and news clippings at this far corner, and then as you walk across, you know, as you pan across the entire room, you see his entire professional career. And after Steve did the interview, we just hung out with Ray and just asked him questions, you know, pointing to the wall, because we're super fans, so we know all this stuff and we know all kind of stories, but we haven't heard it from the man himself, you know. And it was great to hear the behind the scenes stuff that, you know, ain't in any documentary. You know, it's not in Legendary Nights or whatever. You know, we did all that, and then we went downstairs, and he's got like a den where he's got all his world titles. he got him out, and I held him and stuff like that. And he had like a pair of gloves that belonged to Ike Williams, an old timer, a great former lightweight champion, one of my favorites of the old timers. Just, and to hear him talk about that stuff, it's amazing. The amazing thing about Ray Leonard is he loves boxing.
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell he loves boxing.
Yeah, like he never got jaded in boxing. And he's had his highs and lows just like anybody, but he's kind of conquered his demons, or he deals with them. You never conquer your demons, you know what I mean? They're always there. But he deals with in a very healthy manner. Yeah. And he's in a good place. So that day, and it was hard to organize it, just the logistics, getting around his schedule. And, I was dealing with agents and publicists and that kind of thing. And they're not easy to deal with, you know what I mean? And I was getting kind of fed up, really. I was kind of like, I don't think I'm going to go through all this trouble, to do something special for the ring and, and all. But once we were there, I mean, I was like, no wonder I idolized this guy. Yeah. I mean, like, it's something special when like you're the men, the sports figures or the celebrities that you idolize as a kid are actually worthy of that adulation. And he was a sportsman. What he did in the ring, he's worthy of it. But outside of the ring, he's worthy of that respect. And he appreciates it and reciprocates it. So all told, we're probably there 2 hours. And driving home, I live in Inglewood. Driving down the 405, it was like I felt like my car was hovering. Yeah, you ever hear that expression? I was on cloud 9. Yeah. I was on cloud 10. Yeah, I felt so good. Yeah. So I had this glow. Like I just felt positive. I didn't have any negative thoughts or feelings or anything like that, and just I felt really good. So that's probably the closest to being starstruck. But with most fighters, even the big one, I just I enjoy when you can have that opportunity, that privilege of just talking to them one-on-one. Yeah, not in a press conference setting, not on the phone. The best place, for me is to talk to them in the gym. Yeah. Whether they're there to work out or not, meet in the gym. That's really their office and all. Yeah. And after
that's their safe haven. That's their safe haven.
Yeah, you're right. They feel safe, and you get really good stuff, especially when it's off the record. And I was told this years ago, decades ago, by Michael Katz, and he said the trainers are the best interviews. Yeah, they're the most interesting people, and they're the most honest usually. Oh man, and the sacrifices, but some of them on the record,
the sacrifices that they do.
They do, also. And they get screwed a lot. They get jerked around a lot. Yep. And they are often the fall guy. They're the scapegoat. Often
they're the last one to get the credit, the first one to get the blame.
You're right. That's good. You're 100% right. But I tell you what, talking to trainers, I've learned so much about the sport. I really have. You learn when you can see through their eyes. You learn from young boxers. I learned from young guys. The first guy to train me for an extended period, the first guy to train me, like just to show me the fundamentals, was a guy named Martin Snow in New York City while I was while I attended grad school at Columbia. Yeah. But I would only see him, I was in graduate school, and a tough school too. It was a tough program. I shouldn't have been, going to Gleason's gym, but I would go twice a week, and he gave me my foundation. But the first guy to really work with me like 4 or 5 days a week was like a 16 or 17-year-old. But I learned from him. I learned his name was Ignacio Nacho Navarro. Oh. And his older brother was a great amateur named Carlos Navarro. He was a pro for a while. And his younger brother, Jose, was a 2000 U.S. Olympian and a world-class junior bantamweight. It's obviously from a boxing family. And now his daughter is like the number 1 rated in whatever her weight class is right now in the U.S. as an amateur. So boxing family. And he was the first guy to train me at LA Boxing Club. And I asked him, hey, when did you start boxing? And he said 7 years. I said, how old are you? And he said, I'm 17. And I said, you got 10 years on me. I can learn from you. Like, he said, well, you know, I said, I do train, but he said, I'm trying to make the 96 Olympics along with my brother, Carlos. So I don't really have time to train nobody. I said, no, do what you do. You do what you do, and I'll be your shadow. I'm going to do whatever you do. Yeah, and he's like, okay, we can do that. Come in. These are the hours that I train. Come in and do me a favor. Drive me home. I'll have a car. Deal, man. You got a deal. And so
that's humble by you, because of course, man, the old never want to listen to the young.
Right. You can learn from them, though. You can. I've learned. So he was just an amateur, you know, and not like he wasn't the best amateur in his family. You know what I mean? He was the middle child, and the older brother was like #1 in the nation, if not the world. I think his older brother beat Mayweather. They fought a few times at 119. Seriously, Carlos Navarro. And his younger brother was
remember that name, Carlos Navarro. You know, Floyd Mayweather got a lot of haters. They're gonna be like, oh
yeah, they're gonna look him up.
They called him run to that Carlos Navarro.
But now his older brother was an amazing amateur boxer. But I learned from Nacho, and I've learned from the old heads as well in the gym. And when you talk to the old heads, like, you know, I always have respect for the former greats, the Hall of Famers and the legends like Joe Louis. But there were some guys like Louis, I'd look at him like, hey, he's kind of flat-footed. He's pretty methodical, you know. Ali would have beat him, and, you know, I don't know if he could hang with modern heavyweights. What is he, 205 pounds? Blah, blah. And then I talked to guys. So you talk to guys, old-timers that saw him fight live. Most of them are not with us anymore. Or you talk to guys who trained with him or were trained by him. And there was an old-timer named Paul Andrews, who was a light heavyweight contender in the 50s and 60s. And Joe Louis managed him and trained him. And so I remember sitting down and talking to Paul about what made Louis great. You know, it's like, you know, you can't really see it with that black and white film. Yeah. But quick, deceptively quick, fast hands. You know,
there is a YouTube channel that have colorized all these fights.
Really?
I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, send me the links. I love watching.
Oh yeah, I've been
a few things. Like he just broke it down. I hear a lot of old timers say it that way. He knew how to punch, when to punch, and where to punch. How to punch, the technique, and he was a puncher. You know, when to punch is your timing. Where to punch, that accuracy, knowing where to here,
punch placement. Yeah,
punch placement. You know, here. You know, he knew, and then just talking to this old timer, some of these old heads, and then going back and looking at that grainy black and white footage, suddenly I see it.
Yeah.
You know, I can appreciate it where I didn't appreciate it before. I can admit that. I'm like, you know, and then you do. So you learn from everybody. You learn from young, old. You learn from not just the boxers and the trainers, but you learn from the managers. You know, you learn from the promoters. You learn from everybody that actually makes boxing their living. Yeah, because we all, you know what I mean. Like this is their bread and butter. You know, they live or die with sport.
I got so much respect for fighters that I even get. You could pinch my nerve if you be like, this fighter's a bum. No matter if he's ranked number 1 or ranked number 10,000. When I hear that, because that's what it is. If you've never been to a gym and you just see boxing, but once you go to a gym and once you see them after a fight. That's when you're like,
yeah. And another step, if you're around a fighter, if you get close to a fighter, you're around a fighter the week of the fight, days before, the 2 days or 1 day before the fight, spend the whole day with them.
Yeah.
Right before the weigh-in, they're totally dried out. After the weigh-in, that night before a fight, you know, they may not sleep.
They're not sleeping. Yeah, I know.
You know, that whole day, the tension, everything. We as fans get butterflies in our stomach before.
Yeah, all right.
Try to, you know, but even a fighter that's on a club show, because I did this once. You know, I spent the previous day and all day and then after the fight with the fighter. And I mean, they're tore up. Even a fight that doesn't look that physical, after the fight, the welts on their face, on their eyelids, their lips torn, all ripped up inside the mouth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I'm talking about a club fight. I'm talking about an 8-rounder.
But it's nerve wracking when you're about to spar. My first time I was about to spar. It's nerve wracking. Like you know you're about to spar, but it's like, why am I nervous? Right?
Same here. I felt ready. Like physically, I was ready. I was in great shape. And like I said, I was still being trained by Nacho, and Nacho didn't make the Olympic team. I don't even think he made it to the trials or whatever. So he took on a class. He took on a class again, and he had a class of like 10, 15 students, and we all worked out together at the same time. And he pushed hard, and bit by bit the class just kind of fell off, and it was just me and this other guy, this dude from he was Samoan. He was a dude from Hawaii, Samoan, and he's huge now. I mean, he's a heavyweight, but he was like a middleweight then. He was a tall, muscular, rangy dude, and he wanted to. He was ready. I wasn't quite sure, but I was like, I think I'm ready. I feel, my stamina was there. Everything was there physically, but I never sparred. So
yeah, exactly.
So he, Nacho asked me, would you like to spar with Alika? He really wants to spar. You guys are kind of different weight classes, but you guys are going to take it easy, right? And I'm like, well, I hope so. Alika never promised to anything, but I said, yeah. And so we did it. So, I worked a 9 to 5 in the Valley, and I trained at night. So it was set up for that night, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock or whatever after work. Took me a while. Traffic sucks out here, so I'm driving from, at the time, Canoga Park to downtown Los Angeles. Terrible traffic. And I'm excited. I'll tell you what, like the whole week, I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I'm going to finally spar, and that day I'm feeling good. Yeah. I'm feeling light. I got energy, and I can't focus at work, man. I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh man, he's not going to touch me. Yeah, he's big, tall, range. He's not going to touch me. And during the drive there, I'm like, oh man, I don't know. It wasn't like it's weird. It wasn't like dread. It wasn't like, oh God, what have I gotten myself into? I can get hurt. I was just like, I got emotional. Like I'm listening to the radio and some sad song came on. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? This is so weird. I'm like, oh my God, what, like literally as I'm pulling in to the LA Boxing Club, I'm like, God, man, what's going on? Like, song, shit, let me get my shit together.
You try to turn the song off, another song come up.
But it was weird. Yeah. It's like when you're a kid and you just have a breakup, and every song, all those love songs, suddenly those lyrics, they hurt you, man. Like, oh no, not another no love songs, man. But yeah, it was weird. And then when I'm walking up there, I don't feel like myself. I didn't have that same energy I had that morning, when I'm, at my desk or whatever. I kind of felt out of it. I felt kind of spacey, and, and Nacho's like, hey, were you okay? You ready? Hey, you guys, and Lika's, he's focused, and he's got these hawk eyes looking at me like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, and Nacho's looking at Lika and looking at me like, I mean, you're going to be okay, right? Like, you guys aren't going to go at it or whatever. I'm like, Yeah. And I get in there, and I mean, we did 4 rounds. It was fine. But he, like, after a round, he was trying to, like, I don't know if he was trying to knock me out, but he wasn't holding back. But all I could muster was a quick jab and get out of the way. Quick jab and get out of the way. And I could do that for 2 rounds.
That was my first. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that was me the first time. I was just using the jab.
But I forgot how to do everything else. I just forgot. I was like, what can I do? It's like, it was fast, man. Pop. I'm sure I didn't hurt him at all. I'm touching him. Pop, pop. And it made him stop and stay at range. But at some point, he's realizing I got longer arms, and he backed me to a corner. And then, we kind of went at it, and my form was horrible. I prided myself on my technique.
Yeah.
But it's different. You have headgear on, and by this time it feels heavy, and it feels like it's blinding me. And
the hair's not
gloves
moving.
are heavy, and the cup. I can't move. And yeah, said in the rounds 3 and 4, I'm in a corner most of the rounds. I'm like, what am I doing? It's so weird. But those experiences are so good. And I did more because later I got a coach that was way into sparring. He's a former fighter, pro fighter, scar tissue, the whole thing, a little bit punchy. And he was like, you're not coming in here doing the Jane Fonda workout. All my guys got to spar. And then the way I am, especially in my 20s, I'm like, whatever you say, coach.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, I'm going to do it, because that's how you get better, and that's how you get into shape. And I did. I like the challenge, I did like that challenge. But you learn a lot about what fighters are going through. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of fans. They've been fans 10, 20 years, and they don't think a jab does anything.
Oh yeah,
like they'll see a jab for 6 rounds and think, well, he hasn't been hit by a hard punch, and they don't realize that those jabs, they fuzz you out.
That froze you out. It sets the tone. Yeah. It sets the tone.
Yeah.
I mean, this generation
jab, it will take you off of your game, and not just in terms of keeping you at range or disrupting your style. I'm talking about something's happening to your brain, neurologically, And the only reason I know that is because I've had sparring sessions with really good boxers, pros who had a good jab.
Yeah.
And I was young and stupid enough to be like, well, the jab's not hurting me. I'm going to walk through it. And, this. And I'm thinking, I if I could see a punch, I could mentally prepare and it wouldn't hurt me. And then whatever, after 3 or 4 rounds, I'm like, I don't know where I am anymore. Sparring session over, and I'm feeling fine, but I'm also like I'm drunk. Like maybe
that's how I felt. It's like it's like the adrenaline is going down quick. Like it'll pick up quick, but it go down quick. Eye coordination is everything. It's like you can't even blink.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the concentration is like you zoomed in.
Yeah.
That you don't even hear the all right, break. That's been 3 minutes, 2 minutes. You don't even hear it until because you're so zoned in. You don't want to get caught. Yeah. One blink seems like you're blinking for like 3 minutes. So you don't want to blink. Yeah, man. I love
that. But that's experience. I mean, I wouldn't advocate fans to spar. It is dangerous, and if it's not the right gym or the right sparring partner or whatever, you can get hurt, seriously hurt. So I don't wish that on anybody. I had my ribs cracked, and that hurt forever. I had I wanted to make sure they weren't broken, so I had an X-ray done.
Yeah,
they were broken. They were fractured, but the doctor told me that my lung was bruised. I'm like, you can get bruises on your lungs. He's like, yeah, it's uncomfortable when you bruise them. I'm like,
they got you in a corner, man. They got you in a corner.
You know what? Guys who work 9 to 5s, shouldn't spar with pros. That's the moral of that story, But it is good to get that if you live in a place that has a boxing gym to experience that, to train and to actually be around even amateur boxers. You learn a lot from them, and then you learn from the trainers, like I said. And if there's old heads around, from them, and then you see the fights from your eyes are open to new things that were invisible to you previously.
So that's what got me. That's what gave me the profound respect of fighters. Like I had to go to the gym, and I really had to see, I'm saying in my mind, like, I think I could hang. They used to see me in the heavy bags, and I used to work out, and they'd be like, "You amateur, you're a pro," and I'm like, nah. You're like, we want you. Can you spar? How much you weigh? How much you weigh?
Oh,
50. First time I sparred was like a heavyweight. He was like 232, like 50 Cent. Damn. I was jabbing the shit out of him. Yeah. But once that nervousness came down and stuff like that. But man, and then I used to go. I love to score bouts. Like I'm that guy in the. You ever gone to a baseball game and you see that guy with that he's scoring the whole baseball game? You be like, damn, what a low life. Like, come on, just enjoy the game. I'm like that watching sports, no value, and I'm counting. I'm like 0-1, and the 0 is the power punch, and I'm just like this, and I'm like I'm people be like, what the hell you doing? But I just love scoring bouts.
That level of fan. Yeah, you geek out on it. Like,
I started doing that, watching Golden Gloves and being and going to the amateur fights. So that's why I love to learn how to score. So now I'm just like that in boxing. I love scoring bouts. When I do the live commentary, I just count all the punches. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. That's the great thing about boxing. There's different levels of understanding of the sport and different levels of what entertains you.
Yeah.
And for most, it's the action and the drama that's created from combat sport, one-on-one combat. It's a martial art,
Yeah.
And then, as you learn more, whatever, there's the backstories, when you actually follow it and who these men are.
Yep.
Factors in there, and then there's understanding the technique involved and appreciating that. Like, how did he do what he did? Being able to actually see it, And
I think that's where we slack in America. We have abandoned the amateur circuit. Us looking at the amateur, create the stories when they become. I mean, if it's all good with the Olympics, we know the Olympians, but there's a lot of amateurs also when they turn pro.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, like if let's say, for example, people want to see Earl Spence and Bud Crawford, but Ugas and Bud Crawford has their history in the amateurs. Danny Swift Garcia and Bud Crawford has their history. If people get to know that story, then they will think like, wait. I know Bud could hang with Spence, but Ugas beat him in the amateurs.
Yeah,
and then
sometimes those were good fights too. I remember hearing years ago about maybe it was Andre Berto and Tim Bradley having some hell of a fight at some Vegas tournament or whatever. I don't even remember which tournament it was, or if it was a major national tournament or not. But
Porter knocked down Denny Jacobs in the amateurs.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
beat up Usyk in the amateurs.
Do you know? In the 80s, they used to show some of the national tournaments. Exactly. They used to televise some of the national tournaments. And I remember, especially leading into an Olympic year, there would be more coverage of national and international level amateur boxing. Because I actually remember the year before 84.
That's another good year.
It was ABC. It was ABC because they televised the Olympics at that time. Yeah. It moved in 88. It moved to NBC, but I remember in 83, I think ABC televised the Pan American Games. Yeah, and I think that's when I first learned about Pernell Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
It was not even from the Olympics. It was a major international tournament prior to the Olympics.
Yeah, they don't even show the Pan American Games anymore.
Yeah,
you guys just search that in YouTube.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't update it. It's crazy. I hope that we go back in the amateur circuit.
Be able to with the streaming and stuff. It'd be, just need to partner up and get the right production value and all that, the right commentary and that kind of thing. And you would imagine that that can be something. I mean, definitely I think it would help bring more fans and like you say, fan the flames of like different matchups taking place.
But then with no headgear, let's say I spoke to Brandon Lee, had an interview with Brandon Lee, and Brandon Lee said, with no headgear, why would I get punched for free when I could go pro?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, Gervonta Tank Davis said the same thing. So now I think it's even going to make it harder for Americans to stay at, fighting in the amateurs when there's no headgear. Why get hit for free?
That's too bad because you get a lot of experience and maturity from that amateur system.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's different and there is a transition, from going from the amateur style to the professional style, I still think it makes for more solid professionals.
Yeah,
and obviously we see that with Eastern European, Central Asian countries.
They got the pedigree.
A Cuban amateur can defect to another country and turn pro. You know, they know what they're doing. It's because of that experience. So that's too bad if there's going to be fewer American amateur standouts.
Yeah. But I know I'm holding you a long time, man. Thank you.
No
but
problem.
let me wrap it up. With a couple questions. First,
Sure.
this I asked you in the beginning. What do you do, man? What's the regimen, man, to keep yourself young like that? Tell everybody your age. Everybody in the comment box right now. Tell everybody 50. You look 22.
Well, you know what?
I see you working out. So what do you usually do?
Oh, not much. I mean, when tracks were open, at least once a week, I go to a track and run some sprints. And if they have like stadium stairs or bleacher stairs, I do the stairs. So I do that. I'll skip rope. Really, since quarantine, since the pandemic, my main workout is in my garage. In the garage, I have an elliptical machine. I have a double end bag, a Mexican style double end bag. You know, it's like looks like a peanut, you know, and I have a 100-pound heavy bag, and I just have some light weights. I don't do heavy weights, you know, 15 or 20 pounds, and you know that's just like the different chest sort of exercise or whatever. Oh, and I have a roller wheel that's got like these handles on it that come up like almost like bicycle handles, and I do that for my abs. But the thing is I don't work out long. I do it like every other day, and it's like a circuit, and it's really about just getting the blood flowing. And I'll put my music on, and I'll move from station to station, song to song. So like the average song is between 3 and 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Music I like. It could be anything. It could be hip hop, or it could be like 80s pop or 80s R&B or something. The nostalgic stuff, the stuff from when I was in high school and college, that kind of puts me in a good mood. So it might be that kind of stuff, that kind of mix, 80s mix. And those songs, those pop songs are nice. They're a little 3 minute.
Yeah.
Never longer than 5 minutes. So I do that. I warm up, skipping rope, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then I go I keep the sweat. I get on the elliptical machine for a song. And then from the elliptical machine, I slip on my gloves and I work the double end bag for a song, and then the heavy bag for a song. And I might do drills on the heavy bag. I try to move around it, like a crescent moon, that kind of around like that, but sometimes I'll stand up and stand in front of it and just get off quick 1-2s or 4 punches at a time. It's real fast, or I'll really dig to the body and try to kind of get that kind of resistance going. And then from there, I have a medicine ball, and I'll do like some squats with the medicine ball, or one-legged squats, one leg back on a chair and up and down like that, hold the ball out straight or up like that, and then the roller wheel, and then over to the bench. And I might have it at incline, and just do I keep it moving every song. There's no lag time between. And after the first circuit, I'm dripping sweat. I gotta have a towel, and my entire shirt is wet. My shirt will be wet.
I might
just like that.
How about eating, the nutrition?
What was that? My diet could be better. I'm big on supplements though.
Okay.
I take like fish oil, turmeric.
I was like, he gotta be vegan. I was like, he gotta be
vegan. No, man, no. I want to try it.
I did for a year.
My diet. My diet could be better.
I felt so great.
What was that?
I felt so great when I turned vegan.
You went vegan. You went straight from eating meat to vegan, or were you a vegetarian for a while?
No, I went straight.
Okay.
Yep. I did a detox. I did a detox, and then after the I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I went straight vegan.
And how long is it?
Well, no, I got hospitalized because I had low iron.
Oh, okay.
But it was my fault. It was me. I was running from 4 miles, then 5 miles, then I was just running 8 miles. Then I'll play basketball. It was my intake. I was I was just pouring out more than taking back in.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you like this, man. I felt like 16 years old.
Wow.
Like
But so
if I had pain,
but how long have you been doing? How long have you had the diet, the lifestyle, so to speak?
I did it for a year.
Okay,
I did it for a year. I did it. Yeah, I did it for a year, and then when I got hospitalized for it, I had low red blood cells. So you got to have iron, either eat meat, and I'm like, nah, I'm vegan, but I hate the vitamins, constipation. So I'm like,
yeah. But I do
so
that.
like,
I'm good with probiotics. I'm good with the probiotics. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what other. There's some of the Snack Gym products. I take the Zima.
Yeah.
I take that before I go to bed, especially if I have a workout. If my workout is kind of intense, so I'll take that like an hour before I go to bed to kind of aid in my sleep and recovery and all that. So all that helps. Drink lots of water. But really, I mean, when you see folks with all the lines in their head and the creases and all, it's when they're stressing out and letting people get under their skin. Or when you look good, you're good. It's smooth, man.
All right.
When you're not, and when you're not doing what you want to do, and I've been passionate about boxing since Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is as hard as it is at times. I like what I'm doing, and I'm into it, and I'm still excited about the big fights like tomorrow night's fight.
Oh yeah.
And, I do think that keeps you young.
Yeah,
I really do.
Being happy, man.
Yeah.
You want to anybody know where to find you? Of course,
at Dougie Fischer on Twitter. At Dougie Fischer is the Instagram. RingTV.com is the official website of Ring Magazine. And every Monday and Friday, there's Dougie's Mailbag.
Oh, there was a question there. When you're going to have Julio Cesar Chavez on the cover?
Next year, definitely. Next year, we're going to do a lot of special issues. Yeah, and he's worthy. Absolutely. We got to have a Mexican. We got to have a Mexican hero, and we should do a all Puerto Rico issue. Maybe put Tito on the cover.
Yeah, I need that.
Tito, but have the other Puerto Rican greats because there's so many of them. You know what I mean? But definitely Chavez on the cover. That's a good idea.
Chavez, get Morales and Marquez to be in the cover.
Yeah, well, maybe Chavez is the big picture, and there's around him are the modern Mexican greats, and then you open up the magazine, maybe you learn about some old Mexican greats. Kid Azteca. Who's the guy? Baby Arizmendi, or
you got Miguel Burchett also. You got Oscar Valdez.
Yeah, Enrique Bolanos. Some of them didn't win world titles, but they were mixing up with great fighters. So yeah.
Hey, great boxing. Yep, great boxing mind. Thank you. It was an honor speaking to you, my brother.
Thank you. We got to do it again sometime soon.
Oh, of course. Hit you up. You already know. I hit you, and I'm gonna forward you the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I want to see the colorized. Yeah, the colorized.
Yeah, that person did a great job. I'm stuck on that.
All right, I will be too. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody, man, that tuned in. Thank you, Doug Fischer, again, man. A great historian of the sport. Been doing this thing for a long time. I'm sorry, Unravel. My fault. I try my best to look at the comment box, the chat room, but of course I didn't want to, change my train of thought. So I apologize if I didn't get a lot of people in the comment box. I try to check, but also listen to Doug. Reading. I'm not cool like that. But he's gonna be here again. My fault, Unravel. I know you asked the question when we first got on, but you know how it goes. I'm still new.